There is a physical structure inside you holding your deepest memories. Forget viewing neurons as just electrical wiring that fires off signals. We suggest something far stranger. These microscopic protein polymers are dynamic data storage devices, fluctuating constantly with informational purpose. Think of the microtubule lattice not like a solid computer chip, but more like an unstable wave pattern maintaining shape. The precise way this scaffolding folds and shifts actually dictates how you perceive reality or enter a deep state of focus. We are now mapping these conformational states in tubulin dynamics to understand if physical geometry determines subjective selfhood itself. We know structure creates function in the body, but how does a physical architecture account for something as fluid as awareness? The answer may lie within the microtubules. These incredibly organized cellular structures are more than just tracks for internal traffic. They act like informational lattices whose shape dictates what the cell can perceive and process. Think of them less like rigid pipes and more like complex tuning forks. Their conformational state literally shifts based on energy input or changes in deep cognitive states, such as flow. High-resolution studies show these subtle dynamics correlate with periods of global cortical coherence, suggesting this nanoscale architecture might be hosting a blueprint for the self itself. The real shock comes when we stop viewing these cytoskeletal filaments as mere scaffolding for neurons. Imagine them not just holding cells up, but actively acting like a living quantum wire, a conduit carrying information across unimaginable distances within your own head. When tubulin polymer conformations shift during deep states of flow or intense focus, it's not just the brain changing. It suggests that the physical architecture is mirroring subtle informational shifts in our experience. It's how structure dictates self. This means something nobody expected for understanding subjective reality itself. How does this microscopic dance relate to what we perceive as a universal collective memory? If we imagine microtubules not as simple girders, but as a hyper-efficient fiber optic network running through every neuron, then their subtle wobbling changes hold incredible meaning. When these filaments change shape, a process called conformational state mapping, it's suggesting that our very awareness is being physically recorded in the structure itself. It's like memory isn't stored only on a hard drive, but etched into the material architecture of your brain. Some researchers, however, argue this structural role vastly oversimplifies what we experience subjectively. Do they see just chemistry, or do they miss the entire conversation? The implication is staggering. Our inner self might be dictated by nanoscale physics. And that raises questions about everything beyond individual thought. Imagine your brain isn't just a chemical reaction factory. It's an incredibly fine-tuned architectural system holding information in its very bones. We used to think consciousness was purely electrical noise, fire across circuits. But what if structure itself carries memory? Microtubules are these internal scaffolding poles, and their precise shape matters immensely. Think of them like the structural data storage on a high-performance computer chip, not just the wires running through it. When we look at how these structures change state during deep introspection or flow, we see shifts in lattice configurations, reversible movements that mirror altered states of being. The receptor fires and signals pass along. But what happens to the inherent information stored within those changing polymer conformations is exactly where everything changes. We always thought of the cellular structure like a rigid skyscraper built to hold everything up. The microtubules were simply steel beams. But what if those beams weren't passive? What if they are actually infinitely adaptable fiber optics inside your mind? We discovered that subtle shifts in their shape, these minute conformational changes, aren't just physical stress responses. They look like living, readable data points. These states correlate exactly with moments of profound awareness or flow. It suggests the entire cytoskeleton might function as a dynamic storage drive for subjective experience itself. But how does mere tubulin change transmit something that feels fundamentally non-physical? We often think of consciousness as purely ephemeral, just a cloud in our heads. But what if your inner experience has physical scaffolding? Imagine microtubules not just as static poles, but like incredibly dense biological data storage units that shift their configuration based on how you feel or focus. When they change shape, they are reflecting shifts within your internal informational architecture. This means the way we structure our thinking physically dictates the texture of our awareness itself. If this holds true, then intentional structural changes to our attention can alter our deepest selfhood. The full research archive is at jamesthomasofficial.com. We have spent this time looking at incredible structural detail, the molecular scaffolding of life. But here is the vital connection. These microscopic polymers are not just inert architecture, they are information carriers. Think of them like a sophisticated, living filing system inside your cell. When we map how tubulin shifts its shape during deep focus or meditation, what we are essentially tracking is cellular memory being written and accessed at the nanoscale. This suggests consciousness isn't some ethereal signal detached from biology. It's an active, dynamic process occurring right there in your cytoskeleton. The shift you seek starts with observing this internal rhythm of structural plasticity. The full research archive is at jmthomasofficial.com.